I'm going to play a quick clip, just part of it, from a speaker at Davos. I particularly like this clip because he didn't go there to be part of the elite. He went there to rip them apart. And this is the first part of his speech.
Laughable that you would, or anyone would describe Davos as protecting liberal democracy. It's
standing up for it.
It's equally laughable to use the word dictatorship at Davos and aim that at President Trump. In fact, I think that's absurd. But I'm going to step aside from that constructive criticism and instead answer your question.
Yep.
And I'm going to be substantive here. President Trump, if he's the next president, for that matter, I think whoever the next conservative president, is going to take on the power of the elites, which I mentioned earlier. But the thing that I want to drive home here, the very reason that I'm here at Davos, is to explain to many people in this room and who are watching, with all due respect, nothing personal, but that you're part of the problem. Political elites tell the average people on 3 or 4 or 5 issues that the reality is X, when in fact reality is Y. Take immigration. Elites tell us that open borders and even illegal immigration are okay. The average person tells us in the United States that both rob them of the American way of life. They're right. President Trump will take that on behalf of the average American. Elites also tell us that public safety isn't a problem in big American cities. Just travel to New York or Washington or Dallas, Texas. The average person will tell you that the lack of public safety damages not just the American way of life, but their life. President Trump will take that on. Thirdly, I guess the favorite at the World Economic Forum is climate change. Elites tell us that we have this existential crisis with so-called climate change, so much so that climate alarmism is probably the greatest cause for mental health crisis in the world. The solutions, the average person know, based on climate change, are far worse and more harmful and cost more human lives, especially in Europe during the time that you need heating, than do the problem and the problems themselves.
So it goes on at some length, and he has some quite good solutions. And he went there to share those solutions with the elite set at Davos. And some of those instances, some good ideas regarding climate change too, which are on YouTube, on other people's channels, which is good to access. The thing is, if you think about him, he's talking about America and President Trump and what a difference a conservative thinking leader would make. And that will apply to Great Britain too. The people that hold the power base are telling us one thing. Apparently, I never heard it before lockdowns, but it's called gaslighting, when they tell you one thing, but they know it's quite the contrary. And people don't feel safe in the streets, in our cities in Britain. They're knifing each other in Manchester. You've got people, I went to a conference, and when I went to get my train, I was walking over people in the street who couldn't move because they're on this, is it called spice, this drug? And you can't wear expensive jewellery. You've got to make sure you've got your bag and your personal possessions close at hand. This isn't how we used to live. This is society breaking down. And we've got people in power who are basically taking a wrecking ball to it and breaking it down even further, while simultaneously trying to tell you that everything's okay and they're doing it right, but they're not doing it right, because you can't get this much more wrong than they're getting it. And if we felt safe, you wouldn't have those huge street bollards which avoid people crashing into buildings in town centres. They've got them in Manchester, they've got them in other cities, obviously in London. So we actually know, and they know we know. And the biggest and most important job that you can do is to talk to other people in your daily life. He's there addressing a few people. And I'm talking to you via YouTube at the moment. And it's not just about getting coverage and getting reach. It's about being able to penetrate the people who haven't listened, the people who didn't notice beforehand. Everybody watching this podcast knows there's something wrong. And I'm not flattering myself by calling it a podcast. I don't know what else to call it. But you need to share your expertise in a non-invasive way. Don't overface them with information about everything. I've said it before. Try and have a bit of empathy, because they're just blinded to it. And some of them are just busy getting on with their own lives. You know, people suddenly find out they've got cancer, or a relative going into care, or the car breaks down, or they're in arrears with them, or they've other stuff going on. Because life isn't easy, and the way our country's been run and other countries, they've made it harder for us. So that's what you've got to bear in mind when you're dealing with these other people. The good thing is, yes, the wheels are falling off the wagon. The elite bus has set off on its journey too soon. It's premature ejaculation for a political gain, and it's failed. And it will continue to fail as people push back. I know a lot of you on the thread yesterday that said that Sue Gray is still there. Yes, she is still there. But this is such a sideswipe for her to be handling things in the provinces. These people want to be movers and shakers in London. They want to really matter. They want a seat at the top table. They, you know, think of it like a wedding. They want to be sat next to the bridesmaids. They don't want to be in with the crowd. And he's just put her back in with the crowd. No doubt she'll rear her ugly head again, but that's not the point. The point is, he's had to change because of public pressure, because some right-wing, they call it, publications like Guido Fawkes and The Spectator have gone on and on, articles in the Telegraph, showing him for being insincere and making really, really bad decisions. I mean, obviously, if you get rid of Keir Starmer, we'll just shuffle another stooge forward. But the thing is, the people are waking up. But more people, I go on my Facebook page, that's a really good yardstick for what's happening in the big wide world. Because people on Facebook are there for different reasons. They're there for a laugh, they watch Lab Bible, they're there for the collective hobby groups, you know, crafting or horse riding or dogs, whatever. And they come across political stuff by accident a lot of the time. Because people tell me that in messages. Oh, June, I've only just found your page. I didn't realise all this were going on. Now I'm getting a lot more of that. That's good news, because that is the army growing. You've only got to look at electric vehicle sales. And the video I put on about China, you know, tens of thousands of electric vehicles that were registered in 2021 are now stockpiled in fields in China because nobody wants them. So this business of China leading the world with electric vehicles is just a facade. They're only leading the world because just like they built all those cities with nobody living in them, it makes them look more successful than they are. He goes on to say in that interview about how if President Trump won, China wouldn't get a seat on the table. As in, we have to listen at the moment to what China thinks. And China thinks China should cover the whole world. We can see that. But this man who's gone into the lion's den, he'll be about as popular as a fart in a spacesuit, I'm sure, has gone in to tell them what he thinks of them and to wake them up into thinking that they're, to realising they're part of the problem. Because they're so elite, they're so detached from how we live, they just don't get it. Well, he's there to make sure they get it. And it's from the last Davos meeting. And you've got to remember these people meet all the time. They've been doing it for years, trying to direct the way of traffic. If you want to watch a really good video, go on Nigel Farage's page or Reform Party page. Watch the recent campaign video about the Labour Party. It's epic. It's probably on YouTube, actually. You've got to see it and share it. It's brilliant. It's so well done. And you see, what they don't like about reform, what you've got to understand, the reason they're so afraid of reform, is because they are having more impact than the Tories. Everybody knows that the people are fed up with the Tories because everybody voted, people didn't turn out to vote, or they voted for Labour enough to get them in, even though it was a low turnout. It was enough to get them in power. But now they're in power, their own voters are turning against them. And they've had to backtrack on the policy for taxing. They've had to backtrack on a number of things. That's a sign of the public pressure working. So never give up. Don't get down in the mouth, because this is we're getting to the good times now. It's like it's got to get worse before it gets better, and we can always part of the fight. You know, it's not just being aggressive and being miserable about it and thinking, well, this country's finished. Is it heck is finished? It's nowhere near finished, because we're going to fight back for it, the ones that live here. And the ones that can't take the heat will get out of the kitchen, won't they? They'll move abroad. And the ones that have moved abroad shouldn't tell us how to fight, should they? It's because I'm still here, I'm still fighting. Because I believe in my country. I believe in... I want to live in this green and pleasant land. I don't want it to stay green and pleasant. I don't want to see. I want to see solar panels on industrial buildings, car parks, that kind of thing. Not covering grass. That's just stupid. So we can always pick holes in what they're doing, and nothing is forever. You might feel like it's, oh my God, this terrible leader, but everybody thinks he's terrible. Even Beth Rigby on Sky thinks he's terrible. So his wriggle room's getting pretty tight, to be honest. And, David Lammy, it's an embarrassment, isn't it? He's just bloody ridiculed on the world stage. He's not up to the job. He's turning up for meetings in trainers. I just think the way we are now, and this budget coming up, they've had to backtrack on so many things. I very much doubt they'll take the bus pass off the pensioners. I can't see that happening. If they do, you can't lose. This is what I mean, you can't lose. Right, if they don't take the bus pass off the pensioners when they've hinted at doing it, then we've won. If they do take the bus pass off the pensioners, even more people will hate them. We've still won. Our argument, our side of the fence can only get stronger. It can't get any weaker. Because we were at our weakest when we thought we had someone in power that was like us, the Tory party, but they weren't. They were just Lib Dems trading as the Tory party. That's what's happened. So we were weaker then because we had people that we thought were going to, fight for us and what we wanted, conservative values, places for kids in schools, less immigration, controlled immigration, manageable immigration, identity of everybody coming into the country. What is so hard about that? What is so hard about saying, right, when you pick them up in the sea, they must make sure they manage to keep a hijab on to cross the channel. Why can't they keep a passport somewhere safe? Of course they can. So insisting on identity would cut a lot of the criminal element out of the people trying to cross. That would sort a huge number out. And, sanction France. I've said it before. Just do that. Stuff them. What do the French ever do for us other than make life up? I love French people. I had a second home in France. There's nothing wrong with France. I love it. But the trouble with France is that it gets away with murder because we allow it to. Because we have been ruled by people who wanted to stay in the EU. And it's as simple as that. Your Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, he wanted to stay in the EU. Half the Cabinet wanted to stay in the EU. Liz Truss, she was a Remainer. Theresa May, a Remainer. These people didn't want to leave and they still had the power base, so they dragged their feet. And dragging the feet has left us with this brino situation where we haven't been able to realise Brexit, because let's face it, if they hadn't dragged the feet, we'd have been out 2 years earlier. 2 years earlier not paying in. 2 years earlier to go forward into the world and trade with other countries on World Trade Order rules, which everybody else does. There's nothing wrong with that. 2 years away from the sclerotic EU, we'd have had 2 years to get some wool on our back, which would have shut the Remainiacs up because we wouldn't have failed. And if the EU isn't the failing entity that I see it as, how come Germany's skint? Go on, explain that one to me, because they're still in. And if the EU can absolutely ruin an economy like Germany, where they are far more conscientious than us, then it can ruin anyone's economy. Greece's skint, Spain's skint, Italy's skint, Germany's now skint. There's only odd countries that are doing all right, and most of those countries, like Austria, do okay because they ignore half the rules. There's only Britain that's all belt and braces. We've been run by absolute fools for far too long, and this is the big pushback now. This is the time to think, yeah, we're on to you. We're on to you, because now it's wide open for everyone to see, because this man is such a donkey, and his cabinet are even worse. And, when a political party like Reform can get away with that video that they've just made, it just shows you, it just blows the lid off it. Young people are turning to Reform because Nigel Farage was so popular on TikTok. He knows how to speak to the young people. I mean, that video that the Labour Party did at the conference, where they're using street talk like the kids, gidding on down with the kids. There's nothing more embarrassing than a middle-aged man in the street trying to gid on down with the kids. It's just toe cringingly embarrassing. The goons, I see them. Ed Miliband, what a goon. And currently, I'm still allowed to say that in this country, though no doubt that will change. But we are from a fighting point of view, we're in a better position because more people are joining our side, more people are sick of them. Those that put them in power are sick of them. The Labour voters, the diminishing of the Labour support is astoundingly fast because it's been so bad so quickly. So I say stay upbeat. Everything in your life that's any good you put there. Nobody else. Nobody else put it there. So if you can do that for yourself, if you just count your blessings, literally, look round at all the things you cherish, your home, your holidays, your kids, your dogs, your cats, your chickens, not chickens. You've got to register them now, and people have been registering the frozen chickens and the chicken nuggets. It serves them right, and the DEFRA website has crashed. Another result. So we're pushing back all the time, even in a light-hearted way. So never give up. Never give up. You know, you've seen that line drawing of the frog being eaten by the stork, haven't you? It's just going down its throat, and the frog gets hold of the throat of the stork so it can't swallow it. You never give up, not even right at the end.